Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app is presented by Progressive Insurance. And last year, over 3 million drivers switched to Progressive. Call or click today and find out if you could save. Of course, all guests appear on the Shell Penzo Performance Line. You can tweet me on the 1-800-Flyers.com Twitter feed, at ESPN Radio, at Clinton Yates. The bad guys are back. Get your tweets on right now. The guys are out trying to get their lives saved. We all know Irma is trying to take over the southern part of this nation, is already wiped out a couple different places on this map. So we're chasing to see if Stugotz or Dan will let us know what they're doing. But in the meantime, your man Clinton Yates is in the building. You better deal with it. You know the rules. If you come incorrect in my mentions, I will embarrass you in front of your friends and your family, and I will not apologize. That said, it's just me today. And since I'm a big boy and can deal with your nonsense, please do keep the how much you hate me tweets rolling, and I got to do something for these 3 hours, and there's only one football game today. Speaking of, there's a football game today. I just mentioned that. Did you hear that? Good. We're going to work on listening comprehension today, kiddos. So let's follow along. The Chiefs play the Pats in an interesting Thursday night game. A game that you could say, if you actually like football, you might actually care about. A game that has some level of, I don't know, importance on the AFC if you actually believe there are teams that can compete with the Patriots. Do I believe that? I don't know. They got a guy by the name of Tom Brady. They don't have a guy by the name of Julian Edelman anymore. They do have a guy by the name of Danny Amendola. And because that offense just plugs and plays like so many Apple products that you buy for no reason, just because you want to have them, there were people who thought that this was going to be one of the most explosive offenses in the history of the NFL this year. I'm not necessarily one of those people. But there are some question marks with the Chiefs. Alex Smith, is this the year that he's the guy? What are they going to do with him as far as the rest of his career going forward? But if you've come to hear me talk NFL football, you've come to the wrong show. Number one, because it's the Dan Le Batard show. And number two, because I don't really care that much about football. Tweets are coming in already. I hope you get whipped out by Irma at Clinton Yates. That's not a good tweet. Rooting for ill will amongst people is not a good thing. But here's the deal. We got to talk about Thursday night football and the abomination that it is. All football isn't good football. Some of y'all don't seem to understand this. And the thing that the NFL did well for so long was that they monopolized one day of the week. You've seen the movie Concussion. I think it's my man Paul Giamatti who plays whatever character says that. The NFL owns an entire day of the week. That's true. It's on Sunday. They own part of it. Some of y'all like to hang out in church on Sunday and pray to God and so forth and have fellowship and community. I understand that. Some of us get that through football. But, you know, there's Monday Night Football, obviously, which is a different brand in itself. But Thursday has introduced an interesting element that I don't necessarily love for two reasons. Number one, Thursday is sort of an awkward day of the week because I used to like Thursday college football. You know, I have, for whatever reason, I have many memories of Louisville playing Florida State on Thursday nights. Maybe there was one of those games. Maybe there were two. Maybe Louisville beat them in one they probably weren't supposed to, but I feel like I have ACC Thursday Night Football memories on my brain. Those may or may not be real. But secondarily is that it messes up the balance of NFL football. The short weeks, that stuff matters eventually over time. And there's a reason why all those games were so bad last year. Because Thursday Night Football became that thing that you did because you sort of had to, and you didn't want to miss out on the possibility that you just biffed a game that you could have easily watched because you didn't have anything else going on, simply because it was on a Thursday. I'm going to read from one of my homegirls' articles. Her name is Charlotte Wilder. If you don't know her, you should check her out. She writes for SB Nation. And last year she wrote something that I thought was very applicable. Headline, congratulations, you just survived a season of Thursday Night Football. Deck, it wasn't pretty, but there were some memorable moments. Now look, first of all, I knew that Thursday Night Football, was going to be a problem last year when that whole uniform thing became a situation. Because if you have to have a uniform gimmick in order to sell an NFL football game, you've already got a problem. It's like going to a theme party. Theme parties are cool, but theme parties are for people who don't actually know how to throw parties. Like if it's not Halloween or if it's not Christmas, your theme party is just a lame excuse for you to fly out to flesh out some weird fantasy you have that may or may not be awkward in front of all your friends, which is fine. I like a good theme party. I'm trying to think of the last good theme party I went to. But very rarely is the juice worth the squeeze on a theme party. So that aside, you got this color rush situation where all the teams look borderline god-awful. I mean, there were so few of these that were actually executed well. The Vikings come to mind. The Giants were pretty good with the all-white blickies. But I can't even think of any of the color rush joints that were actually worth looking at. So off the top, you've got a sort of a bizarre odd night of the week, at least as far as NFL is concerned. You've got a bad uniform situation. And you've got teams on short weeks that have less prep. So we're going to go through some of these games. Because I don't really remember most of these games because I didn't watch a whole lot of them. Week 1, Broncos-Panthers. Broncos won 21-20. You might remember that because Cam Newton got hit a bunch of times in the head and nothing was called. That was weird. Week 2, Jets. The Jets beat the Bills 37-31. The year before that, colorblind people couldn't tell the two teams apart because of their color block situation. Week 3, the Pats smoked the Texans 27-0. Good one, guys. Week 4, the Bengals beat the Dolphins 22-7. Non-game. Week 5, Cards, Niners 33-21. I mean, you can tell already how boring this is. We're at week 5. Nothing of note has happened. Week 6, Chargers, Bronx 21-13. We're halfway through. Sort of. Week 7, Packers beat the Bears 36-10. Another non-game. But color didn't even play. Which gets me back to something else I want to talk about, which is my fantasy team. That's a joke. Don't ever talk to about your fantasy team to anybody who doesn't know yours in the league. That's rule 1. Rule 2, though, is the same as rule 1. It's like Fight Club. Week 8, Titans beat the Jags 36-22. Excuse me. There will be a reasonable amount of coughing, and I have no cough button here, so we're just going to have to deal with that. Week 9, Falcons put up 43 on the Bucs and won 43-28. Week 10, the Ravens beat the Browns 28-7. I sort of remember this game, but I sort of don't. It tells you everything you need to know. Week 11, Panthers 23, Saints 20. It's a division game. Pretty good game. And we'll get to the rest of these later in the show. The point is this. You've actually got a decent amount of good football tonight between the Chiefs and the Patriots. The Patriots. I'm going to start calling the Patriots from here on out. So we might want to watch the game tonight. Anyway, I'm Clinton Yates. Filling in for Dan Le Batard. And now your Sports Center update. We're doing a lot. Filling in for Dan. Filling in for Stu. They're running around because of Hurricane Irma. So we're trying to fill things in here. So sorry about this. But we're going to get it together. Here's a select quote difference. Most companies give you one option, one policy, and one rate, but the select quote shops, and you could get up to 15 options from highly rated life insurance. For a free personalized quote, call 1-800-533-4499, 800-533-4499, or go to selectquote.com. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day. And next time, for real, we will have a SportsCenter update. Coming up, Jim Cantore is next. Where's he going to be? I'm Clint Yates, filling in for Dan Le Batard.
Hi, everyone. Stugotz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you are confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you the same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you are getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz. That's rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, Stugotz, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Le Batard Show with Stugotz on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests are on the Shell Pinto Performance Line. If you want to tweet me, keep it coming on the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed, at ESPN Radio, at Clint Yates. Right now, on the Shell Pinto Performance Line, Weather Channel reporter and fitness enthusiast Jim Cantore. Jim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How you doing?
I'm all right. I got to say that I get, as a person that lives in the East Coast who doesn't get the usual amount of what I'll call extreme weather circumstances and lives in a pretty four seasons climate, I don't necessarily know always how to process this sort of stuff. So we're coming off of Harvey. We're moving right into Irma. If you're in the part of the country that's affected by this, how do you deal in terms of how you prepare in a general way for your daily life for this time of year?
Well, daily life as it's known, if this thing comes ashore, is going to be completely changed for a lot of people. As a matter of fact, even before it comes ashore, it's completely changed. So, instead of the normal routine, getting up, going to Starbucks, going to work, you're getting up, you're writing down a list of things that you need to prepare for a hurricane, whether that means you're sheltering in place or evacuating if asked to by the Weather Service. It's just a whole different world. And obviously, if you look at what's going on down in Florida right now, it's kind of it's like the Wild Wild West down there. I mean, everybody's trying to get their supplies. They're trying to get gas. They're trying to get out of harm's way in the evacuation zones. Because, this is potentially the biggest threat for South Florida since Andrew. And it's at least twice as big in terms of the size.
You're referring to Hurricane Andrew there. For those listeners who are younger listeners who don't know or remember what that's about, can you please describe sort of what
Hurricane Andrew, 25 years ago, Cat 5, coming in late August to Homestead, Florida, with just lunar landscape type damage where it looks like a bomb went off. Now, I can't tell you if this is going to be a Cat 4 or 5, but it certainly has a chance of being. And all the difference in the world where this thing comes ashore. If it comes ashore in Homestead, then that means Miami is in harm's way. If it comes, and everybody on the northern side of that storm is going to get a tremendous amount of destructive wind potential. There are going to be storm surge components. And then if this thing scoots up the coast, there could be damage even on the west side of the state because of the size. There could be damage in Miami and Orlando, possibly Jacksonville, possibly, Savannah, Georgia, Charleston, South Carolina. So it's not just Florida storm. It's not just a coastal event. It's an inland event as well.
We're talking with Jim Cantore of the Weather Channel here on the Shell Pinto Performance Line. Clinton Yates filling in for Dan Le Batard. Where are you now?
The good thing is that, the NFL thought well enough, obviously, of this situation to move the game with the Dolphins. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
Plus, college football has been moved up on Saturday in Florida. So, they're obviously looking at this and the potential and also what's going on in other people's worlds. So
let me ask you this, though.
To get people out of harm's way is huge.
Is it possible that, obviously it's possible, but, are they expecting that this is going to be more than sort of a 1 week removal? Look, taking a game out of Miami for a Sunday is one thing, but if this sounds as bad as I think it does, there's going to be ramifications here beyond just week 1 of the NFL season.
That's certainly a worst case scenario, yes.
Where are you now?
In terms of nailing exactly where the center goes right now, we can't do that. It's not within, our capabilities as meteorologists. All we can do is present you with a scenario, potentially the worst case scenario, and tell you that's what we need you to prepare for.
Where are you now? Where are you heading?
If you don't, you could die. I'm in Atlanta,
okay.
But I will be heading to South Florida this afternoon because to me, some of the worst potential in terms of damaging wind, if this storm landfalls, is going to be in South Florida.
All right. Well, I mean, this is the last thing I'll ask you.
Sorry, man. Don't mean to bring the show down here.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm actually glad, but that you actually have been sobering about this, because I think a lot of people sort of this is why I was saying this in terms of where I am. You see one piece of hurricane coverage, you've seen 1,000 in people's minds, but connecting that to what it means for the on-the-ground life and how that affects not just one spot situation in terms of a storm, but the cumulative effect of living in a place like this is sort of what I was wondering about. And it sounds like from your standpoint, not just from a work standpoint, but from a basic human standpoint, that's not easy as it builds up over the years.
No. Life, as let's say many people are doing it today, not today necessarily, but let's say 2 days ago, it has already changed. And it's going to change for the foreseeable future with this thing. And even if it comes, when it comes ashore, it's going to change for several days, maybe weeks after that. I mean, these things are the big bad ones are incredibly disrupting to life, and they're disruptive for, in this case, the potential for millions of people.
All right, he's Jim Cantore. He's the Weather Channel reporter. Stay safe out there, man.
Thank you.
He brought up an interesting point about how the NFL moved the game, and it was obviously the right decision to make. It was not quite a tricky one, but they moved it to Week 11, which is when both teams had a bye week. And if you might have seen me on Around the Horn yesterday, ding, I was actually arguing a different point, which is that I thought that the NFL could have moved this game to a different location instead of to a different week. Now, understand me on this. A lot of what people said was, well, people are more concerned about getting their families together and sort of being safe in the storm, whatever they have to do. And I understand that. Like, I get that. I'm not implying that that's somehow the wrong priority. But what I was saying is that for a league that makes so much money, I would have thought that they might have been able, not might have been able to, because I'm not trying to imply that this is something you could do with the snap of a finger. But you've got teams that are in places that get affected by the natural disasters all the time. It would have seemed to me that maybe the NFL had contingency plans for this sort of thing. Yes, to literally get everybody from their two teams and their families the heck out of Dodge so they could get a football game played. You make millions of dollars for a reason. And I'm not saying that the football should be the priority in the situation. That's not my point. That's not how I feel. That's not how I argue. But if I actually worked for the NFL and I was an actual owner in this league, I might be a little bit more concerned about moving one game and moving everybody involved than I would be with the potential effects of having a team play 16 games in a row from a competitive balance standpoint. Never mind the player safety standpoint. So don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say here. I'm not implying that they should have just had everybody go play a game just so they could lead their families to the effects of the storm. I'm saying it would seem to me that a company making that kind of billions of dollars every year could find a way to get everybody out and play that game in a safer place so that the game goes on and you don't have to find yourself in a situation where one team has, or two teams have no bye week for an entire season. That's just me. If you're making all that money, what are you spending it on if it doesn't come down to player safety and family safety overall? I'm Clayton Yates, filling in for Dan Le Batard. But first, a word from ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? Do you know where to post your job to find the best candidates? With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100-plus job sites with just one click. Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them, famo. In fact, 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within 1 day. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And right now, listeners can post jobs to ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Dan. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Dan. One more time to try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/Dan. Coming up, Domonique Foxworth. We're going to talk about all sorts of things. I'm Clinton Yates. It's the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, That's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Le Batard Show, it's Stugotz on ESPN Radio, and the ESPN app is presented by Progressive Insurance. And all guests are on the Sal Paolantonio Performance Line. If you want to tweet me, get at me on the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed, at ESPN Radio, at Clinton Yates. You know, nothing makes up for your football obsession like a surprise from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen multicolored roses for $29.99, you get an extra bouquet for free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. All right, y'all, you know what time it is. The time when I validate your passive listening by reading your weak-minded tweets on the air. At Le Batard Show, at Clinton Yates. Immediately pretentious and begging for hate tweets, so I'll feed into it. You're bad radio, dude. Thank you. You're still listening. At Clinton Yates. Yay, I'm happy you took the wheel today. I don't even drive. I don't even have a car. I do drive. I just don't have a car. At Clinton Yates. Hurricane Irma is a real jerk because now I have to listen to this clown again talk about a real natural disaster. Very sensitive, Playboy. At Clinton Yates. Just for kicks and content, I love to hate you and Cardi B. Music sucks. You get the show, my friend. Thank you for that. At Clinton Yates, so much yes, this is a true man of the people, unlike Dan and his crew of misfits. That's not true. I am a man of the people, but that is not unlike Dan and his misfits. At Clinton Yates, you're right. Louisville beat FSU in a hurricane on a Thursday night years back. Thank you. I believe I had that even if I didn't fact check that tweet at all. At Le Batard Show, tuning in and hearing Clinton Yates is such a letdown. Thought the same thing when I clicked your AV. At Clinton Yates, picked up the slack for Le Batard Show. Got to admit, you're getting to that least worst status for guest host. Appreciate that. I'm on one of the rejoins now, so that means I'm moving up in the world. At Clinton Yates, all football is good football. Don't try to brainwash us just because you don't like football, you weirdo. Okay. Nothing weird about not liking football. At Clinton Yates, Thursday night definitely used to and still should belong to college football. Remember some big Thursday night Maryland games. I believe Domonique Foxworth, who just joined us, had a pick six in one of those games. Maybe it was a fumble touchdown. We'll have to get on that and ask him. I should have asked him about that at the time. At Clinton Yates, you just said you don't like football that much. How about you quit bashing the game since your option is biased heavy? Number one, I think you meant to write opinion. And number two, I don't think you really understand what bias is. You might want to look that up and understand it a little better. At Clinton Yates, I don't hate you. I just hate how much I say kiddos after listening to you several times over the last few weeks. Sorry about that. But the catchphrase is the catchphrase. The brand is strong. That means things are going well. At Clinton Yates, this is the Le Batard Show. Where's the race talk? Race talk. Race talk. Baiting time. Excellent. So you got the jingle, but you didn't get the race talk just yet. Well, you did get it a little bit with Domonique. At Clinton Yates, don't take this personally. You can't do the show. You don't have it. Your show is nothing like Dan's. At ESPN, fix this. Correct on one. Number two, I don't disagree with you. I do my show. They do their show. I try to blend both styles. You, however, are a good listener. At Clinton Yates, the first 10 minutes have been Cat 5 terrible. I don't disagree with that necessarily. At Clinton Yates, you sound like Jadakiss the rapper. Aha! That's what he does. At Clinton Yates, hoping you guys make it out safe because Clinton Yates is not worth the power used by my car battery to run my radio. Appreciate that. At Clinton Yates, get it together, bro. You sound like a bullfrog. This is how I sound. Jeremiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of mine. I never understood a single word he said, but he helped me drink his wine. Go look that up. It's on the Big Chill soundtrack. At Clinton Yates, I like you, but really, football is back and you open the segment by raining on our parade about the Thursday product. You don't get the show. Clearly, that's what I'm going to do. You don't get the show. Thank you very much.
At Clinton Yates, the dumpster fire that is this first segment has to be put out. Thursday Night Football is more relevant than you. Mind you, Famalam, you have 0 followers, and you don't even have an AV. At Clinton Yates, can you go full ESPN heel and give us some comprehensive Mystics discussion on the radio today? Hashtag for the culture. Why, yes, I can. I went to see my Sticks play last night. Elena Deladon played. Christy Tolliver played as well. Put up some big numbers. They beat the Dallas Wings. Gave up like a 15-2 run in the third that had me a little nervous in my seat. If you don't know, these first rounds of the WNBA playoffs are one-game elimination, bad boys. This might be time for me to tell you that I think the NBA playoffs should go to a similar format where you go 1, 3, 5, and 7 for the finals. That's in my goofy world of just changing all sports the way I wanted it to. But yeah, things were getting a little chippy. Late in the game, there was almost a fight. Somebody got tossed. My Sticks are making that championship run, y'all. I'm telling you. They're going to bring a ring back to D.C. I mean, the first team to do it in I don't know how many years and I don't know how many seasons. It's like upwards of 30 or 40. And the seasons is some ridiculous count if you put them all together cumulatively. Summer of the Sticks, y'all. Get used to it. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Dan Le Batard and Stugotz on ESPN Radio. Le Batard Show with Stugotz on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app is presented by Progressive Insurance. And all guests are on the Shell Benzo Performance Line. If you want to tweet me, get at me on the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed, at ESPN Radio, at Clinton Yates. You know, nothing makes up for your football obsession like a surprise from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen multicolored roses for $29.99, you get an extra bouquet for free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. All right, y'all, you know what time it is. The time when I validate your passive listening by reading your weak-minded tweets on the air. At Le Batard Show, at Clinton Yates. Immediately pretentious and begging for hate tweets, so I'll feed into it. You're bad radio, dude. Thank you. You're still listening. At Clinton Yates. Yay, I'm happy you took the wheel today. I don't even drive. I don't even have a car. I do drive. I just don't have a car. At Clinton Yates. Hurricane Irma is a real jerk because now I have to listen to this clown again talk about a real natural disaster. Very sensitive, Playboy. At Clinton Yates. Just for kicks and content, I love to hate you and Cardi B. Music sucks. You get the show, my friend. Thank you for that. At Clinton Yates, so much yes, this is a true man of the people, unlike Dan and his crew of misfits. That's not true. I am a man of the people, but that is not unlike Dan and his misfits. At Clinton Yates, you're right. Louisville beat FSU in a hurricane on a Thursday night years back. Thank you. I believe I had that even if I didn't fact check that tweet at all. At Le Batard Show, tuning in and hearing Clinton Yates is such a letdown. Thought the same thing when I clicked your AV. At Clinton Yates, picked up the slack for Le Batard Show. Got to admit, you're getting to that least worst status for guest host. Appreciate that. I'm on one of the rejoins now, so that means I'm moving up in the world. At Clinton Yates, all football is good football. Don't try to brainwash us just because you don't like football, you weirdo. Okay. Nothing weird about not liking football. At Clinton Yates, Thursday night definitely used to and still should belong to some college, still should belong to college football. Remember some big Thursday night Maryland games. I believe Domonique Foxworth, who just joined us, had a pick six in one of those games. Maybe it was a fumble touchdown. We'll have to get on that and ask him. I should have asked him about that at the time. At Clinton Yates, you just said you don't like football that much. How about you quit bashing the game since your option is biased heavy? Number one, I think you meant to write opinion. And number two, I don't think you really understand what bias is. You might want to look that up and understand it a little better. At Clinton Yates, I don't hate you. I just hate how much I say kiddos after listening to you several times over the last few weeks. Sorry about that. But the catchphrase is the catchphrase. The brand is strong. That means things are going well. At Clinton Yates, this is the Le Batard Show. Where's the race talk? Race talk. Race talk. Baiting time. Excellent. So you got the jingle, but you didn't get the race talk just yet. Well, you did get it a little bit with Domonique. At Clinton Yates, Don't take this personally. You can't do the show. You don't have it. Your show is nothing like Dan's. At ESPN, fix this. Correct on one. Number two, I don't disagree with you. I do my show. They do their show. I try to blend both styles. You, however, are a good listener. At Clinton Yates, the first 10 minutes have been Cat 5 terrible. I don't disagree with that necessarily. At Clinton Yates, you sound like Jadakiss the rapper. Aha! That's what he does. At Clinton Yates, hoping you guys make it out safe because Clinton Yates is not worth the power used by my car battery to run my radio. Appreciate that. At Clinton Yates, get it together, bro. You sound like a bullfrog. This is how I sound. Jeremiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of mine. I never understood a single word he said, but he helped me drink his wine. Go look that up. It's on the Big Chill soundtrack. At Clinton Yates, I like you, but really, football is back and you open the segment by raining on our parade about the Thursday product. You don't get the show. Clearly, that's what I'm going to do.
You don't get the show.
Thank you very much. At Clinton Yates, the dumpster fire that is this first segment has to be put out. Thursday Night Football is more relevant than you. Mind you, Famalam, you have 0 followers, and you don't even have an AV. At Clinton Yates, can you go full ESPN heel and give us some comprehensive Mystics discussion on the radio today? Hashtag for the culture. Why, yes, I can. I went to see my Sticks play last night. Elena Deladon played. Christy Tolliver played as well. Put up some big numbers. They beat the Dallas Wings. Gave up like a 15-2 run in the third that had me a little nervous in my seat. If you don't know, these first rounds of the WNBA playoffs are one-game elimination, bad boys. This might be time for me to tell you that I think the NBA playoffs should go to a similar format where you go 1, 3, 5, and 7 for the finals. That's in my goofy world of just changing all sports the way I wanted it to. But yeah, things were getting a little chippy. Late in the game, there was almost a fight. Somebody got tossed. My Sticks are making that championship run, y'all. I'm telling you. They're going to bring a ring back to D.C. I mean, the first team to do it in I don't know how many years and I don't know how many seasons. It's like upwards of 30 or 40. And the seasons is some ridiculous count if you put them all together cumulatively. Summer of the Sticks, y'all. Get used to it. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Dan Le Batard and Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Speaking of football, it's week 1. We got some week 1 decisions to make here. Because week 1 being on Thursday presents a problem socially that I got to figure out. But first, Sal Paolantonio is going to join us. Sal, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for calling.
Sal, let's just break down very quickly what happened here. I'm filling in for Dan and Stu because they are evacuating as a result of the Hurricane Irma situation, and I'm where I am doing the show, and I turned on my television, and you were on television in Foxborough holding a sneaker on television.
Yeah.
It was a very cool-looking sneaker, and I could not figure out what it was, so I said, hey, can we call Sal Pal so he can tell me what that was he was holding? What was that sneaker?
It's the Robert Kraft special put out by Nike. You know, Kraft walks around in his blue suit with his Nike sneakers on. So in commemoration of the 5th Super Bowl title, a little windy here because I'm outside on the field. Sorry about that. In commemoration of the 5th Super Bowl title, they gave him a special edition, red, white, and blue. Has a little gray in there.
Mm-hmm.
Sneaker. Yeah, very nice. And all the proceeds benefit the boys and girls clubs of the city of Boston. So I took out my MasterCard, popped it down there, bought one, gave it to my wife. Yeah.
Oh, so that was the Sal Pal edition. That wasn't just one they threw to you to put on the air.
No, I did my part for the boys and girls clubs of Boston. And, you know, the Crafts are very good to us here.
Yeah.
Hospitality is tremendous that we get here. You know, so, you know, I wanted to support his charity. And the sneakers are cool. I tried them on.
I was going to say,
great.
from a style standpoint, is this one that might enter your regular rotation beyond just you supporting the charity?
Absolutely. They fit perfectly. I did not purchase one for myself because the only one they had in my size was not available because they were selling out like crazy. But later on during the day, I was told they will have my size. But I did buy one for my wife. And yeah, they were definitely comfy. More of like a relaxed fit, fashion statement kind of a shoe.
Like a Saturday chores thing or like a barbecue cookout thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Little barbecue cookout.
Okay.
Maybe, on the boardwalk, taking a stroll. I'm not going to be wearing them running with the fellas down on West 4th Street or anything like that. That's not happening.
When was the last time you actually bought a pair of sneakers, Sal Paolantonio?
I thought you were going to say to me, when was the last time you were running on West 4th Street playing ball?
I just assumed that was
because I know you know where that is.
Oh, the Cage. Of course I know.
The Cage by NYU, okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Been a long time, brother. Been a very, very long time.
All right, we're talking with Sal Paolantonio, ESPN NFL reporter on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. I'm not going to make you answer that question about sneakers. We can actually switch to football.
No. When's the last time I buy them all the time?
Really?
I got 3 daughters. I got a granddaughter who I love to buy sneakers for. I take her out sneaker shopping all the time. Drives my daughter crazy. You're like, let's go. When we go with Papa, we're going to buy sneakers. That's what we do.
Nice. Okay, that is good to know. I hope to see you on an upcoming like what are they called, like Flight Club, where you're at an actual sneakerhead store buying these $1,000 pairs of shoes. But I don't expect that anytime soon.
Okay, good.
That said, what are the players saying about Julian Edelman not playing this season? I imagine it's a big talk amongst the Pats locker room and in general among fans in New England.
Well, initially there was devastation because Edelman and Brady are so close. And Edelman's such an important part of what they do. This is a read option passing game, empty set, spread offense, quick strike. Nobody ran it better than Brady and Edelman. I quoted an AFC defensive coach yesterday on SportsCenter saying that basically Edelman's the best option route runner probably in the history of the league. He said all they did when they studied the Patriots getting ready for a game, Clinton, was watch film to decipher the nonverbal communication at the line of scrimmage that went on between those two guys because they were so challenging and so productive for so long. Wow. You know the numbers, right?
Yeah.
38 targets on third down, more than, the other next 3 wide receivers combined for the Pats. So, and the last time they played the Chiefs, Edelman had 10 catches for 100 yards. So they're adjusting, but that's what the Patriots do. And Gronkowski will fill some of that role. Brandon Cooks will fill some of that role. Chris Hogan will fill some of that role in different ways. But they're playing a Chiefs defense that doesn't blitz, right? Bob Sutton's defense last year was last in the league in blitz percentage. So when you're facing a team that doesn't blitz, you're going to have running backs open in the flat.
Right.
The hot routes to the running backs in the flat. And who's better at throwing those than Brady to James White? Okay. So I think this is a James White ball game. I really do.
We're talking with Sal Paolantonio, ESPN NFL reporter on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. He's live in Foxworth for the opening night of the NFL. I want to ask you this from a procedural standpoint. It's the opening night of the NFL. They're obviously the defending champions. What are we going to see from a presentation viewpoint in terms of what they're going to do ahead of the game?
Well, they're going to unfurl the championship banner a half an hour beforehand. I think there's a flyover, although I haven't been able to confirm that. It's always dependent on the weather. But they'll have the fireworks, and it'll be a big thing for the fans here. There's no question about that, and that's the critical thing. It's for the fans. Brady said during the week, all of our goals are in front of us. I don't even think the players will be out on the field when they unfurl the banner. And I don't know if you were watching the NFL Films piece last night that aired. They do such a great job, called Do Your Job 2, Part 2.
Right.
At the very, very end of it, very telling interview with Belichick. where he says, we're still chasing it. It's not done. We're still chasing it. Meaning, they're recalibrating for the next championship. So they have that mentality here. But there's also a tangential thing going on, with Roger Goodell.
Right.
And that's, for the fans, that's big. Because I confirmed with the NFL that Goodell will be here. I also confirmed that he will not be sitting in Bob Kraft's box. He will not be sitting in Bob Kraft's box like he did when he came here unannounced for the preseason game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because as I reported on SportsCenter last night, the fan reaction on social media is not something that I can repeat on ESPN family of networks.
Right.
The overall negative reaction was bad. And they aren't going to be handing out 70,000 of these towels. You see these towels. Everybody's seen these towels, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that's that. And they got a billboard and the whole schmear. As somebody said to me in the organization yesterday, quote, Bob Kraft has moved on. It's apparent the fan base has not.
That's typically how that happens. He's Sal Paolantonio. He's an ESPN NFL reporter, and he buys a lot of sneakers for people not named Sal. Thank you, Sal.
You got it, man.
Hi, everyone. Stugotz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you are confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you the same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you are getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz. That's rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, Stugotz, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
The Patriots host the Chiefs today. We just talked to Sal Pal. He's in Foxborough. They're going to unfurl. Did you hear that? Right there, Mike? I went for something between unfurl and unveil, and I said unfail. Some of you all would probably like me to unfail this show. But if you use that word, you're using my own bit because I just made it up. Sorry, Mike. Unfail. They're going to unfail the banner. I said that on purpose that time. Fifth ring, blase blah. One for the thumb or whatever it is. But here's the deal. Tom Brady's getting old, y'all. He doesn't have his main guy. His guy that he can apparently just bat his eyes at. He knows what route to run. Sal Pal talking about nonverbals there was getting a little steamy. I liked it. He can just look over, and they know what's going to happen. That's a relationship level that I envy, if I'm being quite honest. Anyway, the question is whether or not, now that they've gotten to the top and they've done so much, what's the motivation level like? Tom Brady talked to WEEI's Kirk and Callahan, those guys, about the Patriots and what they've got going on this season as far as their drive.
We'll be able to write our own chapter, and hopefully it's a good one, but it can be determined by the work ethic that we do and the trust that we have in one another, and we're going to build it over the course of the year. And that's why we're practicing. That's why we're in West Virginia. That's why we're getting ready to go practice against another good team, because we're trying to get better, and we need it. Hopefully we can be the best version of this team. We'll see how that shakes out.
Okay, cool. Another boring take for one Thomas Brady about this season. But let me tell you what I'm looking forward to. And understand in which context I'm looking forward to this in. I don't have a problem with Boston fans necessarily. What I have an issue with is Boston fans who actually believe that people across the nation have more of a problem with them than other fan bases. Because that's not the case. There's a certain type of person, me being one of them, that in their actual, I'm joking, it's not me being one of them, but that in their actual hearts of hearts needs to believe that people dislike them when it's not necessarily true. All this nonsense reading your tweets, it's a bit of a bit. I don't actually really care. It's just, more fun to do the show this way. But in Boston, there is this weird victimhood complex of fans. And by the way, you all hating on me does not make me think I'm a victim. I'm the one who gets to yell here. So keep it up. I enjoy it. But people think that there's some problem that there is being a Boston fan. Oh, woe is me. Everybody thinks we're cheating and nobody thinks we deserve it and blah, 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 blah. So there's like a side element of talking about Boston fans that unnecessarily gets caught up in a bunch of other nonsense that I don't necessarily buy into. It just annoys me on a different level. But as far as the internal structure of Pats and Boston fans, as an outsider, I am actively looking forward to the demise of Tom Brady. Why? Not because I care about who wins or loses. Everybody knows this. But because the fractured world that will be Patriots Nation when it comes time to make a decision about what's going on with him and whether or not he should go forward is going to be one of the most epic dynasty falls we're ever going to get to see. And again, on some level, take the football out of it. It'll just be fascinating to see what this fan base is going to do when the Golden Boy has to go. And I don't mean the hypotheticals of, oh, well, yeah, Garoppolo's in the building. It'll all work out. Or whatever the heck they try to do. But when it actually comes down to it, that's going to be a legitimate issue for a lot of people. Because the Pats aren't in the business of just saying, oh, would you like to be carried out? Would you like a parting gift? Would you like a loot bag? Like at some kid's birthday party? To let you know that we appreciate your time here? They're not in the business of that. They're in the business of cutting people loose before it's a problem. But you can't do that with Brady. You can't just say, nice to know you. Thanks for the memories. You can't do that. There has to be a succession plan that for those of you who watch Game of Thrones, sometimes it's not always end nicely. I can't wait to see Pats fans rip themselves apart when they know full well that this guy should be benched at some point. I'm not saying that's now, not remotely. But when that day comes, it's going to be fun to watch. And more importantly, Pats fans, when that day comes, you should be happy it came. You know why? Because I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and tell you that you're a reasonable person. And when the day comes when you understand that Brady's got to go, you'll be able to rationally and calmly say, man, I got to watch that for that long. And it bore that much fruit. But that would require calm, rational thinking, which is not exactly what fanatics do. It's not what you're asked to do. That's not what you even want to do, which is exactly why it's going to be beautiful when it happens. Can you imagine? Guys coming over the hill, Braveheart style, yelling and screaming their loyalty to Tom Brady. Then you got the other side who's just ready to move on. Oh, it's going to be beautiful. That said, tonight ought to be interesting. Goodell showing up. Kraft's going to be there rocking his new kicks. I imagine the boos will be thunderous isn't even the word. But I also don't want to make jokes about natural disasters right now, so I'm not going to do that. I might be more interested in this pregame ceremony than I am in the football game because I think the Pats are going to smoke the Chiefs. I just kind of want to see what this banner looks like. I kind of want to see what Bob Kraft has to say. Ooh, that's going to be one heck of a handoff. I don't know what to expect from this, though. Do you go full heel? Do you diss the Falcons? How great would that be? How great would it be if they got out there and just said, oh, we'd love to thank the Atlanta Falcons for one of the biggest meltdowns in Super Bowl history? Gotta love ATL squads constantly folding it up right when they need it the most. Big shout out to ATL. What's that owner's name out there? The guy who was dressed like it was Antebellum South dinner in the Super Bowl? That was awkward, by the by.
Arthur Blank, you mean?
Arthur Blank, yeah. He had the three-piece suit going. Looked like he had a pocket watch in there as well. That's a look that what we like to call makes one a little uncomfortable based on seeing it. But I'd love it if they got out there and just cold dissed Atlanta. That would be hilarious. I'm here for that. I'm here for open antagonizing between franchises that have faced off against each other. Just put it all out there. Say, hi, Arthur. I see you. I have this trophy. You don't have any. You got a brand new building right next to an old one. You got a Chick-fil-A that's not even open on Sunday, but that's when your football team plays. I don't care about this MLS team anyway. That's what the Pats owner is saying. That'd be great. He would officially become my favorite owner in the league if he talked trash like that. But you can't do that. And instead they're going to go this boring, classy route where they're just going to thank the best fans in the nation, yada, yada. And he's going to wear his new shoes and everybody's going to donate to his charity, which will be a great cause in the end, but it'll be boring for the rest of us. Can't wait for the demise of Tom Brady for no other reason that it gives us something interesting to talk about.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo! Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Joining us right now on the Shell Penzo Performance Line, ESPN NFL Nation Patriots reporter Mike Reiss. Mike, what's the vibe like today in Foxborough in general, considering they're opening the season and unfurling the banner?
Well, good morning, Clinton. I think there's a couple different vibes. You know, the first is externally with the fans, and I would say that they're looking forward to welcoming, and I put that in quotes, Commissioner Roger Goodell to New England, really in their mind for the first time since everything went down with Deflategate. Of course, we know Roger Goodell was here for the preseason opener, but it was sort of an unannounced visit. They've been waiting for this one for a while, so a lot of fans looking forward to greeting him, and they're sort of, I don't want to say whipped up into a frenzy, but they have some things planned to let him know their displeasure on the way he handled Deflategate. And then you have the internal with the Patriots, and they're going to turn the page here. I was looking at some numbers, and they only have 37 of their 53 players on their roster that were part of that team last year. So while there's excitement to raise the banner, the new championship banner, their point is, look, our whole team isn't even here. This is a new team, and it's time for us to write a new chapter. So they've turned the page on that internally.
I like to call it Deflategate myself, just because it was such a ridiculous situation. But that's
I like it, Clinton. I like it.
So, all right, so here's the deal. I was just explaining in the last segment how I am actively rooting for the ostensible demise of Tom Brady just so that I can see Patriots Nation rip themselves apart about whether or not it's time to actually move on. That's a separate discussion we can get to later. But I want to ask you, at what point does anybody in this franchise or around this team from a fan base believe and have any contingency plan for what happens if it just doesn't work anymore because old man Brady is old man Brady?
Well, so there's a lot going on there because, Tom Brady signed through 2019, and at this point he's shown no signs of decline. And so he says he wants to play to his mid-40s. But I would say that everyone in New England, at least I should say my sense of it, is that everyone realizes that we're at a point where you have to appreciate the man. Whatever you get from now is basically a bonus. And even Robert Kraft, the team owner, said this. He said, the list of quarterbacks who are successful into their 40s is very, very short. Now, no one's betting against Tom Brady, but that's just history and that's just reality. So I think there's a lot of intrigue as to whether Jimmy Garoppolo, could become the next Brady, and obviously not to the same level, but to lead the team to more success. His contract is up after this season. So I think that's where the intrigue lies, is how's this all going to shake out down the line, with Brady, with Garoppolo, and what's Belichick thinking? I mean, he's not going to tip his hand as to how he wants to proceed at the quarterback position.
We're talking with Mike Reiss, ESPN NFL Nation Patriot reporter here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Clinton Yates filling in for Dan Le Batard and Stugotz on ESPN Radio. The Julian Edelman situation, obviously this is the first time this is going to come to a head as it's their first game, him being out. Do you think it is a smart decision to have Amendola returning punts and kicks as well, or I guess it's just punts as well, considering that's something that Edelman used to do, but they're going to need him on the wide outside as well? Is that a little too risky in your mind?
Well, it is risky because Danny Amendola, very valuable to the Patriots and more valuable now without Edelman, but you put him back there and you increase his injury risk. And really what they've been trying to do with him, Clinton, over the last couple seasons is get him through the full year healthy. And that means managing his snap count. But here's the issue. Not only did you lose Edelman, who's a great punt returner, but you lost his top backup. So they're basically down to either Danny Amendola or a top safety like Patrick Chung. So you might put Amendola back there, at least for now, until you can get a longer-term answer there. The short term is that you lost your top two guys and you didn't really have many options to turn to. So Amendola probably going to be back there, and I thought he had a great quote. He said he loves punt returning. He said it's like playing on the highway. And then he said, by the way, I don't advise you play on the highway. I thought it was the quote of the week from the Patriots locker room.
Pretty scary thought that that's something he's actually looking forward to, but that's what you got to do to be an NFL football player. As it relates to the overall chances for everybody else, obviously the Chiefs come in here, but not just what do you think is going to happen tonight. What is the expectation level, I think more realistically, amongst media members for who's going to be able to challenge the Pats in the AFC?
Well, so here's the thing. I mean, everyone's given this to the Patriots, but the last time a team even repeated was actually the Patriots, 2003, 2004, which sort of highlights how hard it is to do it. So if you look in the AFC, as I look around and talk to people, the Raiders are a team that a lot of people like to possibly rise up and challenge. Pittsburgh Steelers, another team. Now, they took it on the chin, obviously, last year's AFC title game, but maybe it's different this year with a little bit of change of defensive approach, play some more man coverage. So those are two teams that come to the top of the list. And then if you want to flip it over to the NFC, a lot of people really like what the Seahawks have done in terms of their defense, building an even stronger unit, trading for Sheldon Richardson. And, the Cowboys, depending on what happens with Zeke, they're a team that comes up. The Packers with Aaron Rodgers, obviously one to be reckoned with as well.
He's Mike Reiss. He's an ESPN NFL Nation Patriots reporter, and he's in Foxborough right now for what is going to be a very eventful pregame situation. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks for having me, Clinton. Have a great day.
You too. My God, you guys are usually better than this on Twitter, man. Like, I do this bit not just to fill air, but because, interaction with people is sort of what half this job is, whether it's from writing, being on TV, or being on radio. But you guys are not doing well today. I'm looking for smarter. I'm looking for funnier. I'm looking for meaner. You guys are going cheap, low-hanging, spoiled fruit. This is a letdown. The show gets better when your tweets get better. These ridiculous, boring tweets. Look at this. I don't get why people hate on @Clinton Yates, hashtag one of the best. The reply from some bird brain with a Ezekiel Elliott AV says, because he's terrible to listen to and thinks everything is racist. That's not a good reply. You haven't put any thought into that. That's mayonnaise on a ham and cheese sandwich. Mix it up. Throw on some spicy mustard. Branch out. Mix in a tomato. It's still going to be basic, but it'll be better than the nonsense you're already eating. Come on, people. I need better from you. That's what I challenge you to do. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in here for Dan Le Batard. They're gone. As a result of the situation with Hurricane Irma, you might have heard Jim Cantore of the Weather Channel earlier in the program discussing what all this sort of means for life in South Florida and places in between in terms of the Gulf Coast, all the way out to Houston. I had my fantasy draft a couple days ago. Feeling pretty good about it. Some pretty garbage team names in my league, though, which means I need to get some of yours. Since you all are so bad on Twitter, I'm going to presume that this skill carries over to how awful you are with your fantasy football names. So please send me, at me. Just so we're clear, my team name is Don't At Me Playboy. In this case, I want you to at me. And yes, my team name is in all caps. Because that's how I roll. But at me with your awful college football names. And don't be making stuff up. If you're not doing it for real, screenshot that junk and send it to me. Receipts, as the kids say. And I'll read them. And the worst one, I'll put the worst one on the air. How about that? Or if you want to call me and tell it to me too, you can do that. 888-ESPN, 888-729-3776. At Clinton Yates, you're my hurricane. At Clinton Yates, spicy mustard is a solid must. Is a must on a sandwich. Hashtag solid point. Thank you. That's all I'm saying. So on Saturday, I'm watching football. Throughout the weekend, I'm watching football. I'm trying to get geared up for the NFL. In college football these days, look, there's a lot of teams. There's a lot of different bits. There's a lot going on during the course of any game. I'd say part of that is due to what I'll call the college game dayization of the sport, which I enjoy thoroughly. I'm here for it. I'm here for antics with my exploitation, if you will. That's a different matter. But some teams have gone to this thing where they got very specific sideline bits that they're running. And I'm not sure how much I love them. Not as a concept. In general, I like this. Anything that gets the players fired up, anything that gives us something to look at on the field between plays, anything that gives them extra opportunities as athletes to express themselves, I'm here for. Tennessee's got this little thing, the trash can. It says HTB Team 121. And what happens is, after you get a takeaway, you get to dunk it into the trash can on the sidelines. Now, there's a couple funny things about this. Number one is, who is sideline guy? Who is trash can sideline guy? Because as you know, on a football sideline, particularly on a college one, you got all sorts of randos walking around. And on a college football sideline, dudes are empowered to the nth degree. Guys, the most small time of dudes think that they're a big deal. So I imagine that in a hierarchy of people that are moving around on a college football sideline, holding trash can guy is actually a pretty powerful position. So what they do is that the Vols, after they get a turnover or a takeaway, they dunk it into this trash can. Sometimes with some success, sometimes with not. By the way, I'm calling week 10 by the time somebody gets injured doing this bit, but that's just me. Miami football, Florida, they got a big old gold chain that you get to wear, hearkening back to the days of the convicts versus the Catholics. Blinged out, if you will. I'm here for that. But this reminds me of a story now that I'm thinking about it, which is that, for those of you who don't know, I went to Miami of Ohio. I was there when Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger was there. They finished that season, his best season, at number 10 in the country. And so, writing for the school paper, I had to write a certain amount of things. And the year after, I believe he left, they were playing a game against, Northern Illinois. And I wrote in my column at the time that I think they're going to do this, and they're going to lose. Yada, yada. No big deal. Comes out on a Tuesday. It's the student paper. And I go to practice, and I'll never forget this. Some dude who I happen to know just from seeing around town, Chesty McDougal, walks up to me, literally carrying his water bottle and bag of footballs, and says, "I can't believe you wrote against us, Yates." And I said, "What?" And he, in front of all of his team and coaches, proceeded to try to yell at me about what I thought about what was going to happen to this football team. The water and ball boy. Of course, they proceeded to lose in exactly the manner that I said. And the water and the ball boy, the next night, tried to fight me at the bar. He got thrown out. I did not. As I was simply laughing the entire time. My point is that these sideline guys, this is as much for them as it is for the players. Being able to bestow the goods upon the players or interact with them during a game is the highlight of their careers, and it should be. I'm not implying that the support staff is not a part of the team. They absolutely are. They are vital to the operation. But I'm telling you that I think those guys are way more into that bit than any of the players will ever be. Because being the guy that carries around the trash can or being the guy that carries around the heavy gold chain or being the guy that carries around the cane that they're using down at, where is that at they're using the cane? Texas A&M. That's a big job in that person's life at that particular moment. Players make plays all the time. They can get a little shine on camera. That's cool. But shout out to all you water boys and ball boys out there who really, really need that validation because that's what you're working for. And that makes sense.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Joining us right now, Trey Wingo, who's back in Bristol after being at the U.S. Open for the last 10 days. Trey, I have an important question for you.
An important answer for you, then.
The U.S. Open, first time it has been an All-American women's semifinal since 1981. I was born in 1981. What were you doing in 1981?
Graduated from high school, so go blank yourself.
Okay. What was the Trey Wingo daily routine like in 1981?
In 1981, the same as it is today. Get up and try and find a way to move ahead, baby. Pretty simple.
All right, well, let's talk about this a little bit in terms of the sort of importance that this means to, I don't want to say American tennis, but sort of the tennis world in general from the Americans fan standpoint. What do you think about how this women's draw has shaken out?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, look, as you said, first time it's happened there since 81, first time it's happened at any Grand Slam since 1985 at Wimbledon. And the amazing thing is this is happening when Serena Williams on the bench, who has been the standard bearer for so long. In women's tennis in this country. So that's the most important thing I think this means, is that, Venus is 35 and she's still kicking, and Serena is 35, and I'm sure she'll be fine when she comes back. But the future is very, very bright. Sloane Stephens, who had come back from that horrible foot surgery after the Olympics in 2016, she's on track. Coco Vandeweghe at 24 looks like the former U.S. Open junior champ is finally fulfilling that promise. And then you have Madison Keys, who, by the way, guys, out of all four, may be the odds-on to win the whole thing. So that's the best thing about this from an American tennis perspective, is that the queen isn't there, and yet the American tennis is still dominant.
One of the things that they asked us on Around the Horn yesterday was, does this fairly signal a resurgence of women's American tennis, or is this just sort of an anomaly in the overall context? I said it is obviously a resurgence. If you've got 3 to 4 household names making it this far that are not the Williams sisters, what do you think about that overall in terms of American women's tennis?
No, it's great. I mean, look, there's nothing bad that's going to come out of this. I mean, literally nothing, because all of these women that are in the final four are marketable, interesting, and can really pound the tennis ball. I mean, Coco Vandeweghe, she will hurt people, and she loves to play to the crowd, and she got fired up there. Her uncle is Kiki Vandeweghe, her dad played for the Knicks, so she comes obviously from a great lineage of athletic families, but most of these people do these days. Madison Keys was someone that was spotted when she was 12 years old, and she's had to deal with a wrist surgery earlier this year. And, the first half of your year was nothing compared to what she's done. And Venus, it's been 20 years since she made her debut in 1997, made it to the semifinals, and 20 years later at 37, here she is again. So it's really remarkable.
We're talking with Trey Wingo, who's back in Bristol after being at the U.S. Open for the past week or so much. Talk to me a little bit more about Venus Williams, though. I mean, it's remarkable, yes, but it's almost a little bit more than that, I would say. 20 years? We don't see this that often. And what was the vibe like there in terms of the reverence for her experience and her success?
Well, let's put it this way. I mean, she's one win away at the age of 37, or she started the year 36. One win away from being in 3 Grand Slam finals at the age of 37. I mean, that's ridiculous. She lost in the Australian Open final to Serena. She made it to the Wimbledon final, and I really thought she was going to take the Wimbledon final against Muguruza. And here she is again. Sloane Stephens and Madison Keys both said it. And Coco said it too, actually. Like, it's awesome that we're all here, but for us to be here and playing and competing against Venus, the person we've looked up to all these years, makes it even more fun. And there was the whole issue with Venus at Wimbledon about the car accident and what may or may not happen. So she was very guarded, obviously, for a lot of reasons with that going on. But once that was cleared up, it's like a weight has been lifted from her, and you can clearly see her smiling, and she does the victory pirouette after every match. I mean, the respect that she commands, not only from the other players in the locker room, but from every single spectator that walks into that arena at Arthur Ashe, is absolutely remarkable and palpable. You can just feel it.
Before we switch gears to the Cowboys, because I know you're a fan, I do want to ask you about the men's draw. What did you think about the men's draw in terms of how it shook out, not just Del Post match last night?
Well, one thing, it was really bad because you had Roger and Rafa on the same side meeting if they were going to meet. And once again, they're not going to meet. They've never met at the U.S. Open, which is ridiculous if you think about it. They were going to meet in the semis and not the finals. And there was some discussion that once Andy Murray pulled out the night before the tournament, maybe they could sort of reshuffle the draw and put Rafa and Roger on other sides. But, this has been a really interesting men's draw because the top 5 players from last year going into this U.S. Open weren't there because of injuries and a variety of other things, whether it's Djokovic or Milos Raonic or Kei Nishikori and now Andy Murray. So all those guys weren't there. So it was wide open, obviously, on the bottom half of the draw. And we were all hoping, selfishly, you want to see great play great. You're hoping, it's like when the Colts and the Patriots were dominating the AFC, you wanted those two guys to meet in the playoffs. So we're hoping for Rafa and Roger. But, Roger injured his back in Montreal and had to withdraw from a tournament in Cincinnati. So he has never really been right this entire tournament. So it doesn't surprise me that he lost. It surprises me how he lost to Del Potro, because I'm telling you, 2 days ago, guys, Juan Martin Del Potro could have auditioned for The Walking Dead. I mean, he was having a battle of fever, about 103, and he looked awful. But somehow he found a way in that epic comeback against Domonique Thiem. And then once he took the first set, I think he felt like, I can do this. And he really had Roger on the defensive the entire night.
All right, let's get to it. Switching gears.
Do it.
Cowboys, week 1, got the guy back. As a fan, do you think, or are you satisfied with the balance between what we'll just call the morality play of what may or may not have happened with Zeke and getting him back for one game before the suspension? How do you feel about that in terms of what the potential lesson learned is or not for not just the team but Elliott as well?
Well, look, I mean, the Cowboys as a team, when you're talking about a morality play, that could be an 8-part 30 for 30 if we want to be honest about it. Okay, yeah. Going back to the Cowboys of the 90s. We had Darren Woodson on the set when we were in Mexico for the Mexico City game this year. And I said, can you imagine if social media existed when the 90s Cowboys were around?
Oh,
and he was like, I mean, just think about that, man. Think about that. The White House and everything else that went on. I mean, that would have, if anything would have broken the internet, that would have broken the internet. So I have no idea about the morality play when it comes to the Cowboys because they keep doing these things and they keep finding themselves in these positions. But at the end of the day, as someone who's watched this team for so many years, I'm sort of ambivalent about the idea of how it affects fandom because I think he's going to have to serve the games one way or the other. Now, they can try and push it as long as they want, and they can try and go the Tom Brady route. Where, remember, Brady was supposed to be suspended for 4 games in 2015, and eventually through legal routes it happened in 2016. But I think that's where Zeke as a candidate to have this thing suspended or reduced or put off is kind of screwed because they've already went through the legal route with Brady, and the legal precedent is now set that, maybe all this stuff doesn't add up, but at the end of the day, you gave the guy the power to do this, so really nothing we can do. And I don't know how the Cowboys or Zeke's reps get around that. I mean, how do you get around that, which has already been taking place last year, and said, yeah, all this may or may not have happened, and they may have screwed it up, but you guys gave them the power to do it, so nothing we can do. I don't know how they get around that one.
Last thing I'll ask you, what do you think about the matchup tonight? Pats Chiefs, unveiling the banner. Goodell's going to be there. It's probably going to be a mess.
Well, as we always say in certain situations, we'd like to thank the Chiefs for their participation in the Thursday night opener and wish them all the best future endeavors. Look, stranger things have happened, but home teams with this sort of pattern that's been on since 2004, where the Super Bowl champs get to, like you said, unfurl the banner. Home teams are 11-1. The only loss was the Giants a few years ago to the Cowboys. Yes, the Ravens lost after their Super Bowl, but remember that game was in Denver because the Orioles wouldn't give up the parking and move their game, so they couldn't have it in Baltimore. It was just awful. So, look, the Patriots at home, with Roger Goodell, by the way, they're in attendance. The crowd might be a little saucy. I think the Chiefs can have a good season, but I don't think that's the reason they're going to have a good season.
He's Trey Wingo. You can find him across the family of networks in multiple regards. Thank you, Trey.
You got it, guys. Take care.
Hi, everyone. Stugotz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, Stugotz, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
I challenged you all to do something a couple segments ago, and many of you have actually come through. I mentioned my fantasy football team name. Don't at me, Playboy. That's what it is. And I said, hey, send me in your team names. And I said, I just don't want you to just tell me what they are because I won't believe you. I said, actually send me some screenshots. Lo and behold, some of you bird brains actually figured this out. So thank you very much. I'm going to read some. Although they don't load as well when they're on the screenshots. So that might have been me killing my own bit here. But here's one. At Clinton Yates, chicken parm, you taste so good. Vince Wilfork on the first date. That's funny. I like that. Let's see some of these here. No, these are not good. That one's not good, so I'm not going to try that one. But I like bad fantasy football names. I don't like inappropriate fantasy football names that have to do with domestic violence, sexual assault, or some other crime. Those are not cool, people. And if I was your commissioner, I would kick you out of the league on spot. Falcons blew 28-3 lead. That's not bad. That's not great, though. Favre dollar footlong. That's funny. Well done, Kyle. I like that one. As a general matter, of course, fantasy football names some people think inappropriate is the only way to go. For example, Sexy Sasquatch, not that funny. Sorry. Not getting much from me out of that. Hudak, incredibly bad. Inner City Tokens, decently funny. Capture the Flag. Got a picture of a kneeling Colin Kaepernick. Not awful. All right. No caps during anthem. I don't really know what that means. I mean, I know what it means, but I don't get what that's supposed to play on. Decent. Corduroy Panserson. Woo. This is excellent. Corduroy Panserson sounds like a name that should actually be used in the next upcoming sequel of Anchorman. So I like that. No Such Things as Halfway Crooks. That's a pretty good one. Shout out to Mobb Deep and the late great Prodigy. One of the best rappers of all time to do it. At Clinton Yates. The Four BoJack Horsemen. That is a great, great fantasy name. For those of you who don't watch BoJack Horseman, you need to get your life together. At Clinton Yates, Let's Get Zeke. Nope, that's awful. You might want to change that instantly. At Clinton Yates, Eli's Authentic Merchandise. Okay. A little shout out back then to the controversy he had regarding paraphernalia and memorabilia. Now, here's some others that I've seen that I'm really, really liking as a bit in general, which is people creating their own logos, sort of a cheap Photoshop style for their fantasy squads. I've seen a couple of really good ones in this regard, and there's a couple here that I'm going to retweet, for example. This one, at Clinton Yates, Perfect Strangers. It's like the DVD cover with my man Balky and Vontez Perfect, who's holding the severed head of one Antonio Brown. I mean, the severed head part is a little weird. We've been through that controversy in this country, but obviously this is all in good fun. Perfect Strangers, good bit. Retweeting it right now. You can hear me typing. This is a good one. I like this idea of creating your own logo, though, because it's like the commitment to the bit that I need to make sure that I know that you actually care about this. You're going a little further than the average bear. Some of these are not good, and I can't even read them on air. For example, at Clinton Yates, this one, CTE till I DIE. That's not funny. That's actually rather sad. The joke there is CLE till I DIE. If you don't know anybody from Cleveland, this is a thing that people say with some level of jest. But some people are actually pretty serious about that. So CLE till I DIE is actually a thing. OJ did it. Yeah, that's not very creative. I mean, come on. That's all you got at this stage of the game is 2017. The very least you could do is put out a 5-part documentary that's going to win an Academy Award. At Clinton Yates, Meow Open for wins. That's pretty funny. A little Super Trooper shout out. I hear they're coming out with the second one of those. I don't know if that's true. I think I saw a preview for it somewhere. You're listening to the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. Clinton Yates filling in here on a Thursday. I'm reading your bad fantasy team names because it's better than reading your weak insults to me. And you're all tweeting me on the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. I appreciate that. All right, some of these are getting not very good. Oh, actually, here we go. Pimpin' ain't breezy. Okay, I'll give you 8th grade level funny on that. That's not bad. Turn your head in Coughlin. That is funny. And he writes, yeah, that's right. My team is grabbing junk. Okay, this is funny. This is a good one. Keep them coming, y'all. Give me your bad fantasy team names or your good fantasy team names. But you got to screenshot them. I don't believe you if you just write them in or call them in. I don't believe you. I need to see the actual screens. Otherwise, you're just lying to yourself. And you're just lying to me. Let's see if we can get one more here. No, this is the same one. Alas, caught up in my mentions. Mike, what's your fantasy team name this year?
You know what's really funny is I'm not going to play fantasy this year. I decided to take it off.
You stepped out. Why is that?
I got a lot of stuff to do. I'm traveling around actually with our college game day crew this year, so I've decided to focus on that and not on NFL fantasy.
I'm sure the bosses are listening.
I know. I'm probably going to get taken down a peg or two.
Good job. Okay, fair enough.
I'm not afraid, though. I'm just not afraid, Clinton. Nobody's come at me if they want.
I meant that they're listening and that you're focused on your job, not on fantasy football, so that is a good thing. At Clinton Yates, at Nickels and Dimes, it's a picture of Rachel Nichols. That's a little sophomore. Some of these are not getting better, guys. I issued the challenge, and some of you stepped up to the plate. I wish I could read this on air, but I can't. Oh, this one is really funny. I'm going to retweet it, but I can't read it out on air. Let's just say it has something to do with Ha Clinton Dix and Harambe. I'm not even going to retweet it, but that's a very funny one. I appreciate all of you all for doing this. Odell, no, that's not funny at all. But yes, mine is don't at me Playboy, something I say quite a bit on these here internets. Saving Matt Ryan, that's not funny either. Come on, guys. We got to do better than this. I feel like I'm going to be getting these all day. And I really don't want them all day. I just want them till 1 p.m. Eastern. At Clinton Yates, Belichick Bender. Okay. Once again, not that funny. Some of these are good, though. I've retweeted one or two that I genuinely enjoyed, but the rest of them are almost as garbage as the rest of your tweets. Anyway, coming up, We'll try to head down to South Florida to get a feel for what's happening in advance of Hurricane Irma. For those of you who don't know, I'm Clinton Yates. I'm filling in here for Dan and Stugotz, obviously because of the weather situation that has not only taken over the part of the country in Texas that happened last week, we've got a new one coming up here in South Florida that's already affected a lot of things. The island of Barbuda has basically been completely destroyed and is uninhabitable, according to the people who live there. It's a tough situation. The NFL's moved games around, but we're going to try to talk about it next. I'm Clinton Yates on ESPN Radio.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Joining us right now, though, most importantly, is the man who makes all this possible. And the reason why we're here right now is Dan Le Batard. Dan, you have obviously been in, I don't want to say panic mode, but what would just be hurricane mode in general. Where are you at right now from a psychological standpoint of moving out, as well as a physical standpoint in terms of where you are?
Yeah, we're in the middle of evacuating. Thank you, by the way, for taking care of the show for us while we're not there, as you've done repeatedly lately. We appreciate it, genuinely. We are in a position. I've never seen South Florida quite this way, right? It's fine now. It's beautiful here. If you came here now and didn't know anything about forecasts, you would say that the weather and everything is beautiful. But what's happening with the people is crazy to me because this has never happened before. South Floridians can be pretty laissez-faire about this stuff because we've been through a lot of them. I mean, even Hurricane Andrew, I slept through it because it was 20 minutes away from me. But the size of this thing and the path of this thing has people behaving in a way that I haven't seen down here before. Like in Houston, people are coming together in disaster, but before the disaster, it's a little bit of everybody is fending for themselves. So you have people fighting over sand and water and gas and fist fights and long lines and people, trying to get out of here, and the airports are crazy. I've never seen any of that before, and I'm guessing that that's partially because of everything we've been watching in Houston lately, and now the video that's coming from these islands where you see this storm is unlike anything we've ever seen.
Dan, if I may ask, you're obviously a South Florida native. Do you think from your understanding of the folks around you that y'all are sort of ready for this on a psychological level? You talked about people trying to beat each other up in grocery stores. Some regions can handle this, some cannot, in terms of just how people treat each other.
Well, it's not everybody, right? Everybody's behaving differently. There are plenty of people. I saw plenty of people refusing to leave their area, right on the beach in a mandatory evacuation area. There's nothing between them and this storm, a catastrophic storm, except the beach. Like there's literally nothing between them, protecting them, and they're staying there because they think that it might just be like all the others. So there are some people who are calm about it, but there is a little bit of hysteria here. Like if you just saw the gas lines and the things happening at Home Depot and just the number of fights happening literally at gas stations over gas and lines and stuff, you'd see what I was talking about.
Dan Le Batard joins us on the Dan Le Batard Show, Inception, today on ESPN Radio. I'm Clinton Yates filling in here. So what is you guys' plan? I don't want to get too personal here, but what are you guys doing? Where's Stu? Where's the squad? How's it going? What's the game plan?
Yeah, well, there's a lot. We're shuttering up. That's a lot of people are shuttering up, and a lot of people are leaving. Like, a lot of people are leaving the state because the cone of this thing, you can't even just drive to Orlando because Orlando's facing a similar panic because of the size of this thing. So if you drive to Orlando, you're not necessarily safe. You might be driving into the storm. You might be driving with a bunch of other panicked people, in traffic, and there are only a few ways out of here because it's a peninsula. If there's an accident or something on one of those highways, a lot of people are going to be waiting for a long time while in the mode of fleeing. So, it's just, man, we get tired down here of the fear-mongering and the weathermen who are weather terrorists. But this one, everything about this one feels different. And I say that as someone who's lived here all my life and never experienced anything quite like this in terms of fear.
Have you been able to get your eye on anything in the sports world, anything that sort of, bubbled up to you care about it? I know the NFL starts tonight. There's obviously the situation with the, moving the game in the NFL and all that. But what has caught your eye in the midst of all of this hubbub?
Well, the Michael Bennett stuff, the idea that he would be the one to be the victim of this at this time when he is, at his core, if you've ever heard him talk about anything, he is committed to this cause in ways that are bigger and longer than Colin Kaepernick ever was. Like, this is a man who is working on a book and a documentary about this kind of stuff, specifically wants to tackle race-related stuff in a book and in a documentary. And so the fact that this would happen to him, of all people, it's fascinating to watch a lot of what's happening around that situation. You know, the initial response, I got a lot of, well, I don't believe him. That story doesn't sound real. And then the video came out, and then the goalposts move a little bit, and it was like, well, where's the gun to his head? And then, you know, some of the video seems to show gun to his head. And it'll keep moving as people get entrenched in their positions on this. And some people think simply that it's police brutality, and some people think that it's an absolute police situation where the police are always clean on this stuff, and that's where the fights start. So all of this stuff, that stuff is always going to be interesting to me.
He's Dan Le Batard. He's the host of this show. He's built an empire down there in South Florida, and let's hope it all doesn't get washed away. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, sir.
Right now, though, we're going to go to the biggest story in the NBA. Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, and Ante Zizic are live in their presser being introduced in Cleveland. Colby Altman is the Cleve's GM. He's there. Let's hear it.
I prayed on it. I thought about it. I slept on it, and I'm thankful for this opportunity. I'm blessed to be able to be traded to a situation where realistically we can win the championship next year. Like, I couldn't ask for any better. And I'm just taking it day by day, making this transition, because that's going to be the hardest part, transition to my family and things like that. But the basketball standpoint, I mean, it's going to be easy. I've been playing, shooting on the 10-foot hoop since I was like 7. So the balls are the same and the hoop is the same. And to be able to be in this organization and compete is what I'm excited about.
Does it hurt more, Isaiah, the fact that when you look at their
realistically has a chance to win a title? Did you hear that? Just so y'all know, behind the curtain here, I'm hearing that live like you all are. This is what we like to call the read and react offense. We were talking about football terminology earlier in the program with Domonique Foxworth. That was a quick read on that. So thank you all to the production crew up in Bristol. Good job, Mike. He said, and by he, I mean Isaiah Thomas, who, by the way, has been pulling the dress and lets it go and out more ever since leaving Boston and going to Cleveland. If you haven't been on his Instagram, check it out. My man's got all sorts of photos. But he said it's nice to be able to realistically have a chance to win the title. Boop. Boop, boop. Realistically? I'm saying, as far as I'm concerned, that is a relatively backhanded shot at Boston, and more specifically at Danny Ainge. Now, the obvious irony is that the Celtics didn't realistically have a shot because, Isaiah Thomas was the main guy on the team. But that was an interesting little word to use there, y'all. His implication there is, you knew we weren't going to win the title because of LeBron. I knew we weren't going to win the title because of LeBron. But now I got a chance to win a title because of LeBron. That was the sound of the day, brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Upgrade to shaving with a fresh blade whenever you want for a fraction of the price. Join Dollar Shave Club today. I love that. Jay Crowder's here on the podium now. Let's hear what he has to say.
Pressure on him to meet the timeline to return.
So our responsibility is to get him back to 100%. And that's our goal. And our performance team, like I said in previous questions, has mapped out a great plan, a multifaceted plan to really attack this thing. And Isaiah is deeply committed to that. And so day by day, as he gets better, I think we'll have a better grasp of it, and we'll let you guys know when those thresholds are crossed. But that's sort of all I'll comment on that for now.
But so it doesn't sound like you have a date in mind yet for it's not that you're.
That's Colby Altman, Cavs GM, talking about Isaiah Thomas and his hip situation. I mean, the good thing about this, if you're a Cavs fan, is that I'm not going to say that the Cavaliers don't need Isaiah. I think that would be an overstatement. But they certainly aren't in a position where they got to rush him back. Once again, You got LeBron. You can do whatever you like. I don't know the schedule, but I know that first game is going to be awkward as a mug. Hopefully he's back for that just for the sake of the headlines. But outside of that kind of nonsense that only I care about, ain't no need to rush him back. The Cavaliers don't have anything to prove. Meshing Isaiah Thomas with the current Cavs roster that includes Jay Crowder and Ante Zizic, I don't know. I'd like to figure that out. I'm not in the business of making fun of people's names. Itch? Okay, Zizic. What I'm saying is that putting Isaiah into that Cavs roster and putting Jay Crowder into that Cavs roster because of how their chain of command works, if you will, far less difficult task than trying to mesh Kyrie with that new operation they got going on in Boston. Look, I know Kyrie and Gordon Hayward are in love with each other. I'm happy for them. I saw that great online video that had Kyrie Irving's face superimposed over Morgan Freeman at the end of Shawshank Redemption, where he just says, "I'm out." Stands up on a little chair that Brooks unfortunately took his own life with, scratches his own name in there, gets on the bus, violates his parole, walks down the beach, throws his hat. Actually, the hat blows off. He just doesn't retrieve it. And when he looks up, he sees Gordon Hayward sand in the boat. I saw all that. I understand that they are actually good friends, and that'll work well together. But that doesn't mean they're going to know how to play together. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be some issues about who's going to be the leader of the team, especially when Celtics fan gets involved. So I wouldn't be too worried about it from a long-term standpoint, is what I'm saying, if I'm the Cavs, about Isaiah in the hip injury. You want that to work out, clearly. Number one, because you don't want to be picking up damaged goods. It's just a matter of principle, especially not if you're a new GM. But secondarily, he can come back whenever. They could bring him back for the NBA Eastern Conference Finals alone, and that would be a good pickup, in my opinion. They got enough picks out of it. That's what mattered the most out of that deal. That Nets pick, and they got another. I love Isaiah, though, right now. Because Isaiah ultimately is the nice guy in this situation. Isaiah is not the one that demanded a trade. Isaiah is not the one that maybe made his Jazz teammates think he was coming back and then bolted for Celtic Green. Isaiah is just the guy that gave it his all. He's just the dude that did everything you asked. He's the girlfriend you had that was never causing problems, never calling you out on your own nonsense, just being there, trying to make moments and have fun. But when you saw all sorts of other stuff running around, you said, ooh, let me try to get my hands on this. I think I'm nice. And Isaiah, when he moved on, did it classy too. Said, I told you, Playboy, other people like me too. But I liked you. Now he's out there. He's got his wine suit on. Wine and gold for the Cavs at the presser. Looking classy, looking chill. He ain't even worried about playing. He says, nah, I'll take my time. The Cavs treat me right. What y'all know about that? Isaiah Thomas suddenly just became one of my favorite players in the NBA, mainly because he was willing to say,